Hello, this is Italian Oraculum. Welcome or welcome back. This is a quick review of the Divine Diversity Tarot Deck second edition by Joe Phillips. This is the box, and this deck I feel it's one that I would say sort of polarizing. I mean, these are beautiful people, so it's in the popular sort of category of decks. It is Rider-Waite-Smith inspired. So if you know how to read that, if you're familiar with that, you are going to easily read these. The thing I see as polarizing, as maybe having some issues as a deck, and some people having something to say about it, it's because of the title. So especially the diversity part, because yes, we have different races and we have same-sex couples in this deck, but then we have like a couple of older people which are either the only ones completely clothed, or just young looking ripped, yeah, dudes with gray hair in their beard and on their head. So the diversity part is kind of partial, I would say. Even here from the cover or from the artwork of the box, we can see that even when there is a different body type concerning weight, we have still muscle, we still see beauty, canonical beauty, canonical standards of beauty. So again, I can see why people would find misleading the title, but as an Italian who went to art school, I'm fine with it, because the divine element of the divine word, the divine portion of the title, reminds me of how ancient Greek and Romans thought about art, whether it was a statue or whether it was a some sort of painting. So art wasn't an expression of an idea like we can think about today. It was more of a copy of reality, or something heavily inspired by reality, maybe concerning a myth or a tale or a famous person or a character of these stories, but it wasn't realized to see anyone or to see an actual someone in the sculpture or in the image. It had to be elevated somehow. It had to be a symbol of beauty and perfection that was not achievable by actual living people. So it was a beautified, elevated, aesthetically speaking, version of reality. And I think this is the sort of divine energy we can see in this deck, divine representation we can see in this deck, because it's a deck of beautiful, athletic people, ripped dudes, curvaceous girls. So it's beauty in human form, elevated to the sort of fantasy, unbelievable standards we can find in magazines and movies and other artwork in general. So, this to say, I'm not mad about it. I can see why someone could find the diversity part of the title kind of questionable. Now, I have a couple of critiques, to be honest, about this deck, but the first is a functional one, which is the lid of the box. Really nice artwork, but I would have preferred the half circle cuts here on the sides, because now that the cards are inside, their weight allows me to grab the bottom portion of the box once their weight pushes it down. But if for some reason I decide to close it without the cards inside, it's going to get stuck, and it's going to be kind of difficult to pull it out. Now this is the inside of the lid. Sorry, the bottom part has the symbols for the elements. Focus here on the sides. Focus. And then we have our booklet. Very purple, very pretty, very compact. Just in English. We have image of the cards, and then keywords, upright and reversed. Title at the top, minor or major arcana. So nice. I maybe would have liked to see a couple of spreads, but it's fine. Then here we have an introduction. Sorry. Pardon me. And here is the back of the card, so they're reversible. And then here's the second, no, this isn't a critique, it is an observation. So you see these purple things in the corners of my box. It's because the edging rubbed off, and I'm not sure if it's something others had as an issue. You can see there are some lines. Again, I don't know if it's a quality of the edging, or if it was my specific copy that was maybe a little bit wet still when it was put in the box, but it is what it is. I'm probably going to file it away, so it's not a problem. And these cards are on the stiffer side, so I wouldn't really recommend reshuffling them. Therefore, the edging is going to chip and show tear and wear very quickly, I believe, and so it's going to be fine anyway. It would be fine anyway. Again, I think I'm going to file it away. Now, about the riffle shuffling, I am a riffle shuffler, so it's kind of a bummer. I'm not very confident in the fact that this deck can survive it for long without creasing in the middle. So it leaves me a little bit meh, but I realize that my personal preference is not a problem of the author. It's not a creator's mistake or something like that. It's just my opinion. Now here's a quick flip through, and you can see the theme is beautiful, ripped, athletic dudes. Like, yes, he has gray hair. You cannot see him as an old man. I'm sorry. So again, it's beautified, it's elevated, it's unrealistic, but I don't believe it has to be like, it is divine diversity. So I can believe if gods are exactly like us, they are all beautiful and ripped or gorgeous by our standards, even if their hair are white. And again, weight is present in the deck, but it's always in characters that are a little bit more covered than the others. Like, I believe this Empress card is the most showing skin of the overweight characters in the deck, which is, it was a choice, but I'm not here to critique. I honestly prefer to see in my cards characters that are not exactly human, because I don't need to see humans in my major or minor arcana. Especially the major, I need to see energy, I need to see archetypes. So it's fine if it's an idealistic sort of representation of people. Now, with this deck, we have three versions of the lover cards, man and woman, two women, two men, and three versions of the devil with the same differentiation. So yes, we have a representation of sexual orientations, but we don't really have representations of sexual identities. So it's kind of gender specific, which nowadays can be seen as a problem by someone. It has been so here's the devil. The funny thing is that this character always have the male symbol, and this character always has the female symbol, even if they change their physical gender. Nice touch, the devil changes as well. And again, this is a very sensual deck. I mean, they're all half naked or completely naked, but you don't really see genitals, you don't really see sexual explicit acts. So I don't think of it as a sexy deck or a sexual deck. I think of it as a sensual deck. It's nude, it's suggestive, it's not explicit, it's not pornographic, but of course it's not the most prude of decks either. So yeah, I like this deck, I like the aesthetic. I maybe am more familiar with this idea of, yes, they are people, but they have to be beautiful because it's art, and it should strive to be better than the real world to compensate for the fact that it is a fake of the real world. Again, here we have a more chubby looking character, completely clothed, unlike the others. Here we have a same-sex couple with their family, the rainbow, it's kind of clear. So there is a good amount of representation when you compare it to more traditional decks, but at the same time it's clear what this deck is and the kind of target audience I believe this deck is. The title is a little bit misleading when it comes to diversity. Even if you don't want to show a realistical old or fat body, I believe you should at least nowadays include the gender portion of diversity. So not just for sexual orientation, but also for sexual identity. But again, this is my opinion, and it's not honestly a reason enough for me to regret backing this deck and acquiring it. Nowadays, I can see why some people could criticize certain choices, but that's the end of it. I bought this deck knowing that I was going to look at cards with sensual half-naked people, and that's what I wanted, and that's what I got, and I'm fine. The only critique for me as a tarot reader, and for what can actually give me a problem if I choose to use this deck regularly, it's the stiffness of the cards. I would have preferred a maybe thinner cardstock or a more flexible one to be able to riffle shuffle this deck without worrying that I was going to damage my cards in the first week of using it. But again, this is my personal preference, and I'm not prevented from using this deck just because I cannot riffle shuffle it. I can shuffle it in other ways, it's just a thought. And again, the lead, I would have like to see those two small cuts on the sides to open it more easily. That's the end of it. So here we have it. This is the Divine Diversity deck by Joe Phillips. If you like decks with beautiful, athletic, sensual people, go buy it. I think I've done a good enough job to prepare you for the fact that the diversity part of the title is true, but not 100% present in the deck at the end of the day. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Subscribe, comment, like. Bye. See you next time.